Okay. Hey, everybody. This is Kyle McCullers with the Kyle McCullers Show. This is a special edition. Typically, I do this show on Saturday, catch up for the week, put it out on Tuesday, but I have been waiting for Liberation Day, which was yesterday. However, when I listened to Trump's speech at 4, he said something very important. He said that the tariffs were not going to come into effect until midnight tonight, which would technically mean it's Liberation the 3rd, not the 2nd. But if you didn't watch his speech, you didn't really miss much, because he said what he said a bunch of times. It was a Trump speech. If you've watched one, you've pretty much watched them all, to be honest with you. And he even took out a sign, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But I woke up early this morning, and on Twitter, we already have some things going on with Rand Paul. Right now, people love and hate Rand Paul, and I understand his appeal. I also understand why people would be annoyed with him. In this specific instance, he voted with Susan Collins of Maine, TDS syndrome, Lisa Murkowski, TDS syndrome, but both, they're not really Republicans. We know this, guys. They're rhinos. They're really Democrats, wolves in sheep's clothing. And not surprisingly, Mitch McConnell. And Rand Paul threw his lot behind the vote for not or turning over the tariffs against Canada. And Rand Paul's whole argument is that tariffs are taxes. And it's true, they are. But they're not taxes against the American people. And I want to show you something. Before I address that, and before I go into the speech, and before I make my case why what is about to happen is actually going to be one of the best things for the American legacy hegemony, I just want to start off with definitions, and I want you to see this, all right? And it's not a tax. It's called a duty. A tariff is a duty imposed by the government of a country or customs territory by a supranational union of imported goods. Besides being a source of revenue, import duties can also be a form of regulation of foreign trade and policy that burden foreign products to encourage safeguard of domestic industry. This is the definition of a tariff, not this garbage over here. This is garbage. Why? Because you can see how it's very deceiving, essentially increasing prices of those imported goods and services. No, if we tariff something, the country can choose to increase that. But what a tariff does is it protects domestic industries by making it more expensive for foreign countries to come into our country and provide the same services for a cheaper price, so that the money flows not to the United States worker or the United States in general, but to that foreign country. Okay. Now, going along those lines, I would say, I don't want to say a unintentional, I want to say an intentional choice of the previous leaders since George Bush Sr., and I'm saying George Bush Sr. because he's the one that made the speech about the New World Order. He's the one that said, from here on out, there's a New World Order, and that was globalism. The governments, the wealthy, the whatever you want to call club, the globalists around the world wanted a oneness, right? And in order to do that, they had to make America, they had to equalize America, because there is no equality when you are the best, when you are the most powerful country, right? And all of the income was going to America, and they said, that's not fair. So what do? Well, America stopped imposing tariffs, and all the countries around the world that were globalists and wanted to be included in this, they sucked the life's blood of American taxpayers. All of that money went to other countries. All of our production, manufacturing went to other countries. You see, it's only okay that the Americans pay the tariffs, right? We have to pay the tariffs. We have to pay the tariffs to Canada. We have to pay the tariffs to Mexico. We got to pay the tariffs to all the countries. But we don't get to charge tariffs, you see. We don't. because we're the ones that are wealthy. We're the ones that are in America. So it's our duty to pay them, right? No, wrong. The imbalance of trade, and they say free trade, what they mean is they get to they get to charge us whatever we want, and they get our stuff for free. That's what free trade is. America being ripped off. And it's interesting. A tariff is actually called a duty. It's called an import duty. What's a duty? What does that mean? What is a duty? A moral or legal obligation or responsibility. The government has a moral responsibility or obligation to tax imports from other countries. Why? To protect the domestic industry of the United States of America. And the previous politicians sold the American people out. They sent all the jobs, all the manufacturing overseas. They allow other countries to charge us while not reciprocating, not charging them. Essentially making us, the American taxpayer, the American people, pay higher prices so that other countries can have revenue while not doing it to them. Why? Because they're all globalists. They're all in the club. And then comes the sledgehammer Donald Trump and says, why are we allowing our citizens, why is our country being ripped off by all these other countries in the world? I'm not in this globalist club. It's America first, baby. And you know what? Because of this is what's kept us not only in debt, but in a cycle of debt that we cannot get out and we cannot pay. Because there has not been any one, and I'm saying not one, until Donald Trump, who has course corrected or even attempted to course correct to make sure that this country does not go bankrupt. Because that's where we're headed. And it's such a mind-blowing, significant thing that he's doing. No one else would have thought it possible. It was not even what I'm saying is it's not even in his enemies' brains to believe that what's happening would even be possible. They could not even fathom him being elected, let alone actually following through with what he's actually doing. It's not something that anyone calculated because it wasn't even in the cards. What do you call a person who shirks his duty? That's what I looked up before. A shirker, a slacker, a gold brick, a maligner. It's someone who shirking their duty by feigning illness or incapacity. A shirker, a bum. That's what our government is, a bum. That's what they've been, a bunch of bums. Shirking their duty, not charging the tax, not charging the tariff, not protecting the domestic product, allowing all of our money to go to foreign countries, allowing all these foreign illegals to come into our country. They've done everything they could to level America, to make it pliable and weak so that they could control us. And that's why this election in November 5th of last year was the most significant election of anybody's lifetime. And that's why this policy of tariffs will be the greatest wealth generation of anybody's lifetime. Hands down. Now, if you did miss Trump's speech, if you did miss his speech, no worries. Like I said, he didn't miss much, but he did bring out a sign, which is classic Trump, right? And that sign looked like this. So you've got, I don't know why that went like that. You have a sign, and it kind of goes down here. It's a big sign. It says the reciprocal tariffs, and on the left side in the blue, you have the country's name, and you have what they are charging America, right? And it says at the top, it says currency manipulation and trade barriers. Is this tariffs charged to the U.S., including currency manipulation and trade barriers? What that means is that they're aggregating not only the tariff, but what they also believe that the countries are doing to manipulate their currency and what other trade barriers that they have done that are non tariffs that are basically creating a higher revenue stream for that country against the United States. And they aggregated it. And honestly, like we can argue this. I mean, they can argue this, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What matters is the right side, the column in the gold. Basically, what his team did, his economic team did, is they took the aggregate of this percentage and they cut it in half and they said, that's what we're going to charge you. So at the end of the day, China has to look at a 34% tariff. That's the reality they're living in as of today, period. So they can fight whatever they want to fight. It doesn't matter. That's what they're looking at. And if you go all the way down the line, it looks like they're pretty even. It's about 50%, except for when you get to something like United Kingdom, which is 10. So what I noticed is we are going to charge a minimum of 10%, period. 10% is the minimum. You will get charged that. And interesting enough, I'm trying to look for Canada on here, and it's not on here. So, and I'm also noticing that Mexico's not on here. And I think that they left these on there on purpose. Well, we all know that it was 25%. So I know that that's true. But I'm saying this is because Rand Paul voted with Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Mitch McConnell to overturn the tariff against Mexico or Canada. It's not going to matter because Congress isn't going to pass it, and Trump would veto it anyway. So it's a virtue signal. But what this is this, I think this does a couple of things. It shows Rand Paul's true colors, Mitch McConnell's true colors, and it also proves that Rand Paul's an idiot, and he's petty. Because I don't believe it's about the tariffs. I believe it's about him hating Trump for destroying him in 2016, 2015, when they were running for president. I believe that this is something that he does not like Trump. He doesn't believe in Trump. He doesn't see the vision. And to be quite honest with you, I think a lot of people are having kind of difficulty seeing the vision, but let me just paint this picture for you. This is the foundation of wealth generation and a callback to when this country was the wealthiest it's ever been because our ancestors actually did their freaking duty and charged countries. If they wanted to sell something in the United States, they had to pay the fee. It protected us, it generated revenue for the taxpayer, and we didn't have an income tax. Trump is literally taking a lopsided trade and he's equalizing it. It's trade equality is what we're talking about here. Trade equality. No longer are we going to be ripped off. No longer are we going to sit by while people pick our pockets and do nothing about it. We're going to take all of our industry that we put offshore by all these other, both Republican and Democratic politicians, by the political base. We're going to bring all that manufacturing back. Yes, jobs are going to go up. Yes, revenue is going to come up. Great. But there's a couple of things I think that are intangible. Number one, there's an era of don't mess with us. Number two, you're not pulling the wool over our eyes anymore. Number three, you have to take everything serious. Number four, it reestablishes dominance in the world stage because we're not dependent on any of these countries. They're dependent on us because we, the American people, are the largest consumers on the planet to the tune of $3 trillion. Without our money, they do not survive. That's why Canada's rolling over. It's not going to hurt us. See, if the prices go up on foreign goods, we're just going to buy American. And that's what it's all about. There's going to be a transition period from when, and I'd say about probably 18 months, maybe 2 years, to where prices are going to go up. But then they're going to go steeply down because when when they're going to start, they've already started building plants over here. Okay. So the countries are going to start building plants. The jobs are going to start coming back over here. Those plants are going to get built. Those jobs are going to be put in place. Everything's going to click. And I'm telling you, it's going to be like a hockey stick. So it's going to go, the economy is going to go down a little bit. It's because it's going up, but it's going to go down a little bit. It probably is. Most likely it is because of the transition. But once we hit that, I'd say 18-month mark, it's going to go straight up. And the thing is we're going to be self-sufficient. It won't be like COVID where, the supply chain and everything got cut off basically, and everything stopped because we're importing everything instead of making it here. So we're going to be kind of like, I'd say like almost like pre-World War II where we didn't really need anybody's stuff, right? We made all our stuff here. And I think that is, I'm going to play a video at the end of this, but I wanted to really, really make you guys hear this, is that the tariff policy does so many more things than just generate money. It repositions America on the world stage. It takes us off dependency of other countries supplying us. It makes us self-sufficient. It strengthens the dollar. It strengthens the economy long term. It strengthens the country's national security long term. Because like Trump was saying, we don't even make our own pharmaceuticals anymore. So if all the pharmaceuticals that we consume, and I think we're the number one consumer of pharmaceuticals in the world, if that's made not even in the United States, then what happens when we get into a war? What happens when something happens and those are cut off and you can't get your medicine anymore because we don't make it here, right? Why is Canada charging us 300% on milk? We have milk here. We don't need your milk. We don't need your cars. We don't need your lumber. We don't need you. So why should Americans pay a tariff of 270% on milk? And if you want us to pay that, then why can't you pay a tariff against us? Why can't we charge you for the stuff that you would import? Our whiskey, for example. And then when we say, hey, you're charging us on milk, we're going to charge you on whiskey, and you say, well, we're just going to buy your whiskey. Well, then we're just not going to import your milk. But what are we talking about here? And Rand Paul says, oh, it's a tax. It's a tax on the American people. No, it's not. It's a tax on that country. And if that country doesn't want to play ball, then we just won't buy their stuff. But Rand Paul doesn't see the vision. I never liked him anyway. Mitch McConnell needs to go retire and watch the sunset and drink lemonade for the rest of his life. He's basically a Joe Biden, right? He needs to go away. It's the American people's time now. And we're sick of the old Republican, old politician guard. So I wanted to leave you with that. But before I go, I wanted to play this video because I think this succinctly puts a period at the end of this whole thing. Take a look at this.
President's historical view on global trade and the tool of tariffs or the use of tariffs that he envisions, not just through Liberation Day today, but how he's used it over the years.
Yes. Well, the announcement today is the most significant action on global trade policy that has taken place in our lifetimes. It's not even a close call. I mean, this is probably the biggest event that's happened on global trade since the very ill-fated decision that we are now reversing of knocking down all of America's trade tariffs and revenue policies that led to the offshoring and outsourcing of all of our industries. So this is the great reversal of that great betrayal, is how I look at it. So in the 20th century, successive American presidents knocked down all of the policies that we had to protect American industry. And they did insane things like letting China into the World Trade Organization, as an example. And we watched all of our factories go overseas. This is the complete reversal of that. This is the great onshoring, the great reshoring of American jobs and wealth. So if you look at America today, we're totally dependent on foreign countries for the supplies that make this country run, for all of the essential goods materials, manufactured products that make it possible for us to live our lives. Our cars, our electronics, all the materials that go into our homes, our buildings, our medical supplies, our entire supply chains are completely embedded in foreign countries. So if there's a national emergency of any kind, and a country shuts off an import or a foreign power embargoes a sea lane, we are then left defenseless, helpless, because of the decisions that prior leaders made that President Trump is now reversing to let all of these industries leave our country. And so what he's doing today is, for the first time ever, he's saying that if you have stolen our jobs and therefore threatened our national security, we will apply a reciprocal tariff based on the degree of your misconduct. So for countries like China, for example, they will see a very high tariff rate because they've engaged in the most egregious conduct that threatens our national security. For countries that have severe but not as severe misconduct, they'll see a moderate but not as high tariff rate. The effect, though, of those global tariffs will be that companies will have to move their production back into the United States. So factories will leave, whether it be Mexico or Canada or Vietnam or Cambodia or China or the European Union. They will come back to the United States to produce their products, to make their goods. And in so doing, yes, it will create jobs. Yes, it will increase revenues. But most importantly, it will restore our national security so that we will not be dependent on anyone else to survive and thrive as a nation. That's the significance we're talking about today, the most important economic event of our lifetimes.
And Stephen,